The sun is setting and the marine layer is coming in here in San Diego, and it's time to say goodbye to the West Coast, California to Washington State. It's kind of sad, really. This is a wonderland as far as I'm concerned. This is a beautiful place, one of the most beautiful in the world, all along the coast, really. So the blue skies are gone for now. It's evening time. It's almost 5 o'clock West Coast time, and of course it's in January, so the days are short. This video goes through several different subjects and I show you several different things, and it ends on basically some kelp floating aimlessly in the San Diego harbor, chopped up for whatever reason and without any direction. And I did that on purpose because at this point in time, although it seems like things might be okay or that there are people in charge, the fact of the matter is that we've given up the principles as a nation. Again, we haven't been perfect, but the idea of individual liberty, of life and love, righteousness, have been at the heart of a lot of what we've done. Yes, there have been some really dark times, like what we did to the Native Americans. Of course, slavery was really bad. Our wars of aggression, even before what's happened since Korea and Vietnam. But the principles upon which we were established really have been good. And I've gotten some texts and some emails and of course some messages from people on YouTube here that say how bad the Constitution is, and Congress, you know, they bring up what Congress means by the Black's Law Dictionary, and I realize that legal terms have a different meaning than everyday usage, but I will abide by the fact that the principles of liberty applied across the board to all people and under equal protection of the law is an idea that did not really exist in fact prior to 1776. So I would hope that you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and that you look at the big picture, that we have evolved as a species to a point of understanding and realization and consciousness. But unfortunately there's the evil side, there is the opposition that seeks to enslave us again, to return us to feudalism, returns us to dumbing us down, not being aware, keeping us uninformed, operating on a subconscious level, dumbing down our conscious. So please consider all of that and understand that I didn't really have any intent on attacking any individual person other than the leaders of the nations, because they know what they're doing. They bought into the deception and to this tyranny because they believe they're going to be on top of it. And as I've often said, they will end up falling into the pit that they're digging for us. But again, I did not intend to attack any particular individual, and if I've offended any of you, as I also say at the end of the video, I apologize. But sometimes we just need to take another look at things so that we can wake up. You know, when you see someone in a nightmare, you shake them, you wake them up. Or if there's a bear out in the woods that, you know, you're walking down a path and you're aware of it, no one else is, you're going to make some type of alarm. And that's the same thing that's happened here. I really do want all of God's children to continue on their path of individualization, because I believe that is the creation of God, the expansion of God. So please watch the video, listen to a few things that I say. I don't cover much because I've covered it all, really. I'm not a news guy. I'm not going to go out and report on new developments. If we don't see what is coming down the pike now, we never will. The old mantra, prepare and help others to do so. And most importantly, make that decision, that choice between good and evil, between life and death, between love and hate, and shun fear. Well, we're at Torrey Pines Golf Course, right on the ocean in La Jolla, California, part of San Diego. And we're here for the Farmers Open tournament. All the big golfers are here, Tiger Woods and I guess Nicholson, a whole bunch of people. So this will be fun. It'll be a lot of wind, so I'll try to make it so you can see it or hear it. What I'm going to do is show you the coastline here. This is beautiful. I'm with this group of guys here. We're going to be following the game today. It'll be an exciting experience. But look at that ocean. Isn't that just fantastic? Oceans and mountains. I'm still in San Diego, as you can see from the background here. You know, sailing is one of my passions, but I've only been sailing maybe twice in these smaller type of sail vessels, you know, up to about 35, 36 feet. And I wasn't doing the sailing, but it's something I've always wanted to do for a long time. But I am here out on the water. I'm getting ready to leave San Diego. Getting ready to leave the West Coast, period. I've been here for quite some time now. Again, looking at a lot of different things, but California is not my cup of tea, other than the weather and the people are nice and a lot of things to do. But of course, the political situation here and some of the other things that are happening are unfortunate. Let's just put it that way. But as goes California, so goes the rest of the country, and I think that tells a lot about where we are and what's happening. A couple of things I did want to bring up, which I'll do here in just a minute. Aren't these sailboats just cool though? Man, I'd love to have, you know, even a small one like this. You see a guy getting his provisions ready down there. He's getting ready to leave. Pretty neat stuff. It's really nice. So anyway, let's talk about a couple things. The first is, of course, Senator Cruz got on Face the Nation and was actually telling it like it is, but basically he was censored. They cut out a good portion of his interview, and that's kind of how things go these days. If you try to say anything, alert people or warn people about what's going on. So media censorship, which we criticize in the Soviet Union, is alive and well in the United States of America. It's an unfortunate situation, but I'm worried a little bit about people like Senator Cruz and Senator Paul. They're putting their lives in danger by what they're doing now. Character assassination only works so far, and then they have to, do something to totally silence them. So I'm not sure where that's going to go, but it wouldn't hurt to pray for those guys. There aren't many in the government that are willing to do this kind of thing. Few and far between. I think back about Elijah and God telling him, after Elijah was complaining that, he felt so alone, God told him, well, I've got 10,000 men who have not bowed the knee to Baal. Well, I'm sure that's happening here, but where they are and what's going to happen with it, I don't know. So it goes back to the old thing again, get yourself ready, get on the right side, choose a side, good or bad, whatever you consider, make your choice, and then we'll see where the chips fall. But you know, a lot of good people are going to be hurt during this process, because evil has to have the cup full of unrighteousness, and they're going to do that. They're well on their way. I wanted to bring up another situation. That's the Fukushima thing. It is getting worse. I will say that. I'm not going to give you any particulars. I want you to look this up for yourselves. The government's definitely shutting down anything that purports to show the problem, and that includes those sailors on the USS Ronald Reagan. So a lot of things going on here, and I hope that you take the time to look at it and to inform yourself. And of course, that's the big thing these days, to be aware, to make sure that you're conscious, aware of what's going on. Be a watchman on the tower. Even if you can't do much, the mere observation, as you understand the law of quantum mechanics, quantum physics, the mere observation of this, of what's going on, is important. So I would hope that you do that. Well, another view of the San Diego skyline from the north of the harbor. And down there is where those ships are that I talked about on my last video, the sailing ship that was in Master and Commander and all of those. And I thought I'd just show this to you. I'm out on a little dock here next to the water, because I wanted to be next to the water for this last little bit. Show you what that's like. That will be in the background here again. Well, I am down here on the harbor of San Diego, as I've said. Of course, the wind's blowing. There's a lot of background noise, so I don't know how this will turn out. But I wanted to just come on before I leave San Diego and the West Coast. You know, I love the ocean, but there's some real problems here on the West Coast, and not just Fukushima, and you need to keep track of that. Yes, there is a problem here. Research it, and don't believe just what the establishment tells you, or the people that support the establishment. No, what's going on here isn't due to global warming. There is a problem with the radiation levels and where those are coming from. I'll leave that at that. But anyway, you know, the political situation in California is not something I can agree with. Yeah, for that matter, I can't even agree with the political situation in the U.S. You know, 50 million abortions since Roe versus Wade, wars of aggression for corrupt purposes, for gain and control. You know, I just can't support any of this in any way, shape, or form. Liberty going by the wayside in favor of security, one of the things that we were warned never to do. And the people keep choosing making bad decisions because of whatever reason. Even I know that I've been dumbed down. You know, there's been fluoride in the water, the spraying in the air, the problem with the food. They say that the pineal gland is kind of like the antenna to God, and even mine is calcified, I can tell. But I recognize that that's happened, and I pray that those of us who want to be awakened, to have that connection hooked back up, will receive that. So anyway, I'll be heading back east, not far east, I mean east from here, and leaving the West Coast here shortly. But I wanted to show you these few pictures of San Diego again, and yeah, it's a wonderful place, really. A couple of comments. Senator Cruz was lambasted basically by censor on Face the Nation for what he said. If you're not aware of it, he was saying that Obama is basically a dictator, and that was censored off the actual final program. It was edited out. Senator Cruz has put his life in danger, as has Senator Paul and a handful of others. Too many people are signing on to the evil because it looks like that's the way to go to get ahead. And you know, none of us have an absolute knowledge of the truth. None of us do. But there's some things that you can look at and just say, you know, that's bad. This is not going to turn out well. And people like Senator Cruz and Senator Rand Paul and a lot of the people that are doing commentaries in their own shows on YouTube and elsewhere, you know, the alternative media, and just a lot of folks like you out there, you know, we all know something bad's coming. What's the answer? Well, we probably can't do much about it, but we do need to be aware. We need to be conscious of it. We need to make sure that we are watchmen on the tower, that we're making these observations. Because as we know from quantum mechanics, quantum physics, observation is one of the ways that a difference is made in the end. I had to take a picture of this. You know, this is one of the neat things. No, I'm not a prude, but I thought this was really good. Seduction. Well, the right kind of seduction, of course, by a loved one is one of the most wonderful, sweet things in life. And I guess that's how he means this here. Of course, there's a purge going on right now by the establishment, particularly, of course, by the president and his minions, against anyone who dissents, against anyone who disagrees with what's going on or sees the dangers of it. We see it in the media, like with D'Souza, the maker of a couple of movies about America and about Obama in particular, who was just arrested for giving some money to a candidate. And we see it in the situation with the military officers. You know, a lot of top senior officers. Not all of them, as I pointed out. Some of them are in there to control the situation. They look like they've been purged when in fact they haven't been. Kind of the standard deal, you know, you infiltrate your opposition. And then we have, of course, the situation with, you know, the Virginia governor and a lot of other things going on. Christians in general, Second Amendment advocates, vets, you name it. And I might as well point out that lest we forget and assume that this is a recent development as far as this going after dissenters and those who politically disagree with you, don't forget that it wasn't just Obama that started this or the Democratic Party. You can even go back as far as J. Edgar Hoover, okay, and the presidents under him. And really back decades with what's happening, Nixon, all kinds of things. But most recently, for you Republicans out there who want to point the fingers just at the Democratic Party and forget that this whole left-right paradigm is to control us, that there really is no difference in this one-bodied, two-headed monster, that this Leviathan, this tyranny that is grasping a hold of us. Don't forget, in one of his addresses right after 9/11, what did he say? President Bush, you're either with us or you're with the terrorists. In other words, you either agree with us and do what we tell you, or you will be branded as a terrorist. And that has come true under the second Bush, Barack Hussein Obama, Barry Soetoro, whoever the hell he is. So if you don't understand history, you're condemned to repeat it. And we can see that today with the fact that so few people are standing up against this tyranny. For my part, I'd like to say that, you know, I have been passionate about a lot of things, and I want to apologize if I've offended anyone. That was not my purpose. Of course, my purpose was to inform, and you know, when you do that, sometimes you are going to get those who are opposed to, you know, your viewpoint. But the viewpoints that I've brought up, I think, have needed to be said. And while I don't really regret anything that I've done here on YouTube, I do often think that I could have done it in a much better way. You know, a lot of people that I've talked to, I'm very adamant about, you know, righteousness, doing things for the right reason, you know, the right use of something. And yet I also know that I'm not always there either. As a matter of fact, I'm often not. But regardless of all that, it's the intent of the heart that matters, and I hope that it's pretty obvious that the intent of my heart has been to point out the danger that we're in and that we should choose the right over the wrong. And yes, there are such things, and they do exist in reality. To those of you who have felt maybe the arrows or darts that I have sent out there, it was not done in a spiteful way or in a hateful way. Even again, if I was passionate about it, it was because it is an important thing that we choose the right over the wrong. And I would hope that, given discourse and the right to free speech and all of those things that we hold dear or should hold dear, that we can always have these discussions and these dialogues in freedom, in the light of day.